Welcome back, trainers, and here we go, the Boulder Cup tournament here in Anchorage. So we have our first challenger here, and I'm going to go ahead and start it off with the Marsh Stomp because I'm going to gain that energy fairly quick with that Surf, and I seen the team, and it was a pretty decent entry. He's going to be going in there with the Medicham and hitting me up with that Dynamic Punch. I go ahead and block that because I want to keep that Marsh Stomp in there for a little bit longer. And we're going to get that Ice Punch and get taken out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that Surf off, but that's okay. Now we're going to go ahead and go with the Skarmory, and we will take that hit because we don't want to use up all of our shields quite yet. And down goes that Medicham, which was just a toughie. And in comes the Magneton, and I'm going to bring in my Swampert. That's right, I'm running Marsh Stomp and Swampert. Why? Because Swampert is basically like a Marsh Stomp with that Surf. So you can't pick two Pokemon in this tournament for R specifically, so I went with this. Did a few tests, and it performed quite nicely. A lot of grass hazards that I had to look out for. So anyways, back onto this. It's going to be kind of hard to keep up with the battle and give you my thoughts as well because it's pretty lengthy. So we'll just kind of talk as it goes. Now he has his Magneton in here. I'm going to go ahead and do what I can because there's, I'm basically walled here. And down I go. Lost the first round. So, yep, good game. And let's go ahead and check out the next one here. So, yeah, best 2 out of 3, of course. I'm going to start it off with the Swampert, and he's going with the Skarmory. So, I'm in a pretty good situation here. The Surf does a decent amount of damage, as you can see there. The Skarmory is going to be hitting me pretty hard. I will be taking that hit because I don't want to use all my shields quite yet. And for the quick move on my Swampert, I do have Mud Shot because the energy gain is just out of this world. So I'm going to go in here with my Skarmory because if I didn't pick my Melmetal, which I do have on my team, there is no other direct counter necessarily. I mean, there's others, but for my team, no. Going up against another Skarmory with yours is a pretty safe bet. And this situation right here, he accidentally brings in his Medicham. He was trying to go for the Magneton, but he accidentally tapped on the other one. So make sure when you are coming up on the switch to pay attention and don't just tap. And also when you're blocking, do not accidentally use your block because I've seen a lot of people talking about that. That happened to me in the beginning when PvP first came out, but I start tapping a little bit above because that could really throw the whole battle. Hitting the wrong charge move, using the shield when you're not supposed to or when you necessarily shouldn't, and or picking the wrong Pokemon in this case. So down to Medicham versus Medicham here. I am using Dynamic Punch just because it's getting a little bit of stab, but not very effective because of the Psychic type. He hits the Ice Punch. I was feeling a little comfortable at that point because I knew that the switch was accidental, and I would finish it off here with the Skarmory. So good game on that, and we're going to go into the next round. This is going to be the determining win. So we have the Skarmory versus Skarmory. I have the Melmetal, but I just was very nervous about using it and very cautious because the only thing it would really be good for is to go up against another Skarmory. So I could enter with it, but then I have to look out for fighting, ground. I mean, it's just a mess. Even the water types are going to be doing a decent amount. And seeing that everything is water and ground, the electric moves that I have on it are not going to be really doing much whatsoever. So, yeah, here comes the Melmetal. I decide finally, I have a Melmetal on my team. I might as well use it. It's almost dead. But at this point, it was almost kind of a waste. But luckily for me, I was able to get off this last Thunderbolt right here with probably like 1 HP. So that was lucky for me. And then my Melmetal just melts away. I do have the Sky Attack charged up and ready to go as soon as I enter the battle. And there is that. And then the Magneton comes out and just completely destroys my Skarmory. And now I'm in a good position here somewhat. I'm down to my last Pokemon. He has 2 more. And this is why I picked Swampert, because it's somewhat safe out there. As long as I didn't pick Breloom or Torterra, something like that, then you should be looking fairly good, taking not so much damage and dishing out a good amount. And that is the first win for the tournament for me. Now we're going to go on to our next challenger, Andrew, and let's see what we have going on here. I did battle him in the last tournament, and it was fairly fun. So he's going to be starting off with a Flygon. I did enter with the Medicham because I saw there was a couple Pokemon weak to ice, so it was a fairly good entry, and I felt comfortable doing so. The only problem with the Flygon is, man, that Mud Shot charges up that Dragon Claw so quickly. That Flygon is going to be quite weak to ice, and that is why he used both of his shields there. And I was in a good position. I knew I could take this Dragon Claw here and get off one more Ice Punch and finish off that Flygon. for massive damage there. And at this point, my Medicham can just do whatever, a little bit of damage to that Wish Cache. And I'm thinking, what am I going to pick here? And I do enter with the Skarmory. And let's see what we have going on. I don't really have too much to worry about. If he was feeling brave to charge up a Blizzard, if he had it, I mean, that could work. That Water Pulse did do a fairly good amount of damage too. And if you rewind it about 3 seconds, you will see I was trying to switch into that Marsh Stomp for a good amount of time. Now this is ×2 speed, so it was about 5 seconds of me trying to switch, which I couldn't, but that is okay. Now we have the Torterra out here. I'm just gonna completely get destroyed. At least I was able to get off a Surf, which took off half of the health. I am entering with the Skarmory that is down to almost no health, and luckily though I was able to get off that Sky Attack and finish off the win there. So good game. Now another strategy I was using, having both Marsh Stomp and Swampert on my team, was to try to pull their grass Pokemon out, which I had a feeling that might happen. So I went in there with the Hitmonchan with the Fire Punch as well as the Ice Punch, in case he tried to pull out the Torterra. There you go. But in this case, he switched it up for Gliscor, and now I have the Ice Punch. I'm just going to keep going for that. If I was able to get another one off, I would have shielded, but at this point, I don't have enough health to survive, so I just let the Hitmonchan go down. And I did bring in the Medicham for the team because it does have Ice Punch, and like I said earlier, a lot of the things on his team were weak against Ice, so we're going to continue on here and just smash him out. I was going to hold off. I was about to do that Ice Punch, but I was thinking, I'll wait for the next Pokemon here. We're going to go ahead and do that Dynamic Punch onto the Wish Cache. We're going to get a lot of damage there and go ahead and do another one. And that right there is why I wanted to hold off on using my special on the last Pokemon. So I'd have more energy charged up for that Dynamic Punch or Ice Punch for whatever came in. Now comes the Torterra, which is going to be very weak to Ice. And that is that. Good game, Andrew, and thank you for the battles. Now we're going to go on to OMG Kesha. A lot of my watchers, you know, you've seen him here before when we went up against raids. So let's see what we have going on here. He put up quite a good fight. So the Skarmory versus Skarmory. Yeah, still not using that Melmetal. I feel like I should have used it a little bit more. Put all this investment in and used quite a few TMs trying to get that Thunderbolt, but that's okay because Pokemon that you power up for the Great League and invest secondary moves in, and you don't find yourself using them for whatever specific situation, that's fine. There might become another time down the road where you need it, so think about it like that. Anyways, we're going on here pretty neck to neck. As you can see, I was into the red first, and he's going to able to get his Sky Attack, which is going down there. I didn't want to use a shield, so we're going to go ahead and enter with the Swampert and do a Surf. Now, the reason why I didn't shield up with the Skarmory back there is because he didn't use any shields, and I didn't want to be put in a situation where I had less. Now, if you think, well, the first person who uses a shield, that means that, you know, they're going to lose. Not necessarily really whatsoever. But yeah, I just wanted to play it safe. So I did go for the Earthquake, and he was surprised. He thought I was going to hit it with the Surf, and I was able to charge it a little bit longer with that Skarmory, and that's why I was able to get that Earthquake off there. And if you're thinking, why not just use the Marsh Stomp? Because maybe I wanted to use Marsh Stomp and Swampert on the same team at the same time, because as you can see, the performance is super nice. And every time I've been put up against a Marsh Stomp in the beginning of a match, not necessarily for these battles, I seem to get my Surf off first. So yeah, anyways, we have the Hitmonchan in here. I'm just going to go ahead and do that Ice Punch because fire is not going to do anything to that water and ground, and that's going to be the first game there, and good game. All right, now on to the second match here. Entering with Skarmory, safe because of the Pokemon that he did have on his team. Once again, I didn't want to enter with Melmetal because take a look. There you have the Wish Cache. I would have been in a hard situation. I switch, then he switches, then I'm locked in, and he has the upper hand, you see? You have to be very careful when it comes down to that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that Sky Attack again. He's going to shield up. So that's one shield down for him, and I have two still. So I decided to take that hit. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get off another Sky Attack unless I was extremely lucky, but that's not the case, and down it goes. See, in that situation there, he wanted to get me out of there, but if he would have saved that, it could have helped him. But you never know. You kind of just want to get that charge off before they hit you with theirs, right? Because it could be very fatal. So in comes this Skarmory, and I do have my Hitmonchan. I shield up because I have Fire Punch, and he has no more shields, and I'll be able to take it out. So, and it goes down. And that is basically why I put Hitmonchan on my team for that Skarmory. That would have been nice to get an Ice or Fire Punch onto that Braylon, but not the case. Now I'm in a very bad situation here. taking a lot of damage from grass moves, and I was waiting for that earthquake. This was the game, and it was a very good decision. If I hit it with Surf, it probably would have been over, and he would have hit me with that Seed Bomb. We would have went into the third round, but still. Now, Bone Chip, last round, folks. Here we go. And this is it. We're both undefeated at this point as far as the 2 out of 3s. So starting off with the Marshtomp, he's going in there with the Skarmory. Of course, Skarmory. This is the MVP. You have to understand, if you have yet to do your Boulder Cup, look out for this thing. It's nasty. If you don't have one, get one because you need it, right? So I do take that hit, and I save my shield. Like I said, I was being stingy with the shields. I don't know if I said that back there, but I felt like I was in this tournament. I should have used some in a different situation. But hey, you live and you learn. So I'm going to get off this Sky Attack onto this Skarmory versus Skarmory here. And he is almost down. He was able to get one more off, and I wasn't going to use my shield. Take that not very effective damage. We're looking okay. Now we're going to go ahead and do that Sky Attack onto that Marshtomp. He's going to use this shield because Marshtomp is also one of these MVP Pokemon that you want to use in this tournament. It's so good because of that Mud Shot and Surf continuously happening. So we're both down to no shields. He's going to hit me with this Surf, get that Skarmory out, and I'm in with my last Pokemon, and he still has another one. Not looking good for me. No more shields. Yeah, it's not great. So we have a Medicham. Yep, that's pretty much it there, folks. So we're going to go ahead and do that Ice Punch. I hit it with the Dynamic Punch because I just wanted to get the charge move off no matter what it was as soon as possible. I didn't want to wait any amount of time before I saw what it was. So we're going to go ahead and do another Ice Punch and see what we got here. Come on, a little bit of health, but it's not enough to get a charge off. Not quite enough. So that is a good game, Bone Chip. And that's the first round. I'm going to go on to the next one here. All right, round 2. At this point, I'm thinking, well, I better win this. Otherwise, it's just going to be a straight up loss without any wins against him. And I didn't want that happening. So we're going to go ahead and enter with the Marshtomp. He did have a Breloom on his team, so I did have to look out for that. I'm surprised he didn't use it. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. So we have the Marshtomp doing the Surf again. He does go ahead and block. So I feel comfortable with him using his shield early here. And we're going to go ahead and hit it up with another Surf. And he uses both of them. At this point, I'm thinking, both shields already, huh? All right, I'll use mine too. I'm in a comfortable situation. I'm going to be able to get that Skarmory out before my Pokemon faints. So I have 3. He has 2. He can obviously still win. And I was luckily able to get off another Surf onto that Marshtomp, doing half damage. Looking great here. Deciding what I want to go in with because I need to make my choice very wisely. I do go on with basically my second Marshtomp, Swampert. It does so much damage with that Surf, and he hits me again. Ow, he was holding him off. That's very smart. Luckily for me, though, I was able to get off my Surf and finish him off there. Medicham versus Skarmory, and you guys pretty much know how this is going to end. And looking pretty good here. So we're just going to go ahead and get that Sky Attack, and this is it. So are you ready, folks? Are you ready for the final round? Yes, both of us were undefeated at this point here. And this is it for number 1. Now, I was taking a big risk entering with the Marshtomp, seeing that we did 2 rounds already. And he was probably thinking, this guy's got 2 things extremely weak to grass. So I'm going to probably go with the Breloom. But no, that's not the case. I talked to him afterwards and he said, no, I wasn't even planning on using the Breloom. It was just to trick people into thinking that I was going to use it. So it worked, and very nice strategy. So we have the Wishcast versus the Marshtomp here. Little bit of health left, able to get off one more Surf and make him burn his last shield. As you can see, I have 2 shields left, and this is where I was getting stingy. If I would have used my shields in the beginning, I could have probably pulled up a little bit more with that Marshtomp. So we are entering with the Skarmory here. Going to go ahead and hit him off with that Sky Attack, and in comes his Marshtomp. He is going to be getting a Surf, which is going to do a good amount of damage to my Skarmory. Always doing so much damage with that Surf on the Marshtomp. Going to hit him with that Sky Attack. And at this point, I'm not going to switch because it was very nerve-wracking. The last battle, you know, people were watching, you're like, So we have this Skarmory, and at this point, I was thinking, great, I pretty much lost because you're going to see my last Pokemon. Well, you already seen it, and that's going to be a Medicham. So it's kind of reversed from where I was last round. And yeah, that is pretty much it, folks. And down I go. Everything was great. The host, Elliegantly, was just absolutely amazing, always doing a great job above and beyond what she needs to do for the tournament. So big shout out to you for that. Much appreciate all the organization that you've done. Now we have the winners here. We have Bone Chip in the middle with the big smile, Xanthrid over to the right, and then myself over there to the left, kind of looking like, I don't know. I didn't realize the face I was making. I was out of it. After I lost that match, I was thinking, I should have used Melmetal. I should have used Melmetal. Why didn't I use it? Let's take a look at my face. Yeah, I wasn't being like sour or anything. And I'm glad, you know, you live and you learn. I mean, Bone Chip won the last tournament, and it's just showing how good he is in Pokemon Go and the strategy that he's using. So big shout out to everybody who participated. Good stuff, guys, really. So I did get this awesome Boulder badge, thanks to Elliegantly, and also some other prizes here, a Pokeball Bath Bomb and a gift that she handmade, guys. She hand makes these. And that's just amazing. See, this is what I'm talking about. Her going above and beyond for the local trainers. Just amazing. All right, now let's take a look at my team and discuss a few other Pokemon that I was considering using. Yeah, so here we go. We have Marshtomp and Swampert, both of which are going to be weak to Breloom if people so choose to use that. Especially if they have Seed Bomb and Bullet Seed, it's just going to get wrecked completely. As you've seen, that Torterra tore apart my Marshtomp extremely quick, but at the same time I was able to get that Surf and do a good amount of damage. I did put the Melmetal on my team quite some time ago, and I'm going to be straight up, I had the same team as Nick, alright? And it wasn't like I was copying him. I was watching the video with Elliegantly when we're at a raid. She put it on and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me see his team again. And I showed her, I pulled up my team and because I had it ready, and it was literally the same thing. And I was thinking at that point, great, now people are thinking I'm going to copy. So I kind of switched a few up, basically just the Swampert. I did have, for a while, instead of the Melmetal, a Hariyama. But then I was thinking, it doesn't charge the Dynamic Punch quite fast enough. And I did a few tests, and it doesn't necessarily take the Surf quite well. So I decided to go back in with the Melmetal, and it literally saw no action. And the action it did see was just very bad. I should have switched a long time ago for that Skarmory, but I switched at the very end, doing barely anything. So it's a good Pokemon for its specific, you know, use that you need to go up against the Skarmory. Basically, that's it. And that's why I have Thundershock and Thunder. It only does have one quick move. And then, of course, you have the Skarmory. This is a nice lucky. And yeah, I mean, it's great. If you don't have one, I mean, you better get one if you're considering entering this tournament if you haven't yet done so. Now, can you perform well if you haven't, you know, put one of these on your team? You could, absolutely. But you have to really have a strategy down and know which Pokemon you're going to enter with and have everything into consideration as to if you need to switch, what are you going to be safe with, and such, right? That all depends on what you're working with there. So, do you need a secondary move? Not really. I think I used Flash Cannon once. I think. Other than that, you don't need to spend that because I'm pretty sure it's 75,000 Stardust. So, not cheap whatsoever. Now we also have the Hitmonchan. This has been on my team in the last tournament, and now this one as well. I already knew right off the bat that I was going to use this, like immediately. It didn't find too much use, but when I did use it, it did help me, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. It can take a few hits, as well as it has counter and Fire Punch, and then Ice Punch. Ice Punch is going to be covering any sort of grass, Breloom possibly. You got the Fire Punch to do that as well. I mean, so no big deal. More so for the Ice Punch for the Marshtomps and the kind of Wish Cash, because you definitely don't want to do a Fire Punch to one of those, right? Counter is just doing massive damage for Hitmonchan. So it did find its usability, and it did work great. Which ones did I use the most? As you've seen, that's going to be the Swampert with Mudshot, Earthquake, and Surf. I did power this up, I do believe, a couple days ago, and I set it in stone. I was like, I'm using it. The reason being is because Marshtomp is so good. It's literally Marshtomp and Skarmory, you're going to want those on your team. Anything else, you figure that out, all right? But for the most part, you want these. So the performance was so well that I decided to go with the Swampert. Now, something that I noticed personally is that the Swampert is going to almost I don't know, this might just be me, but in every situation that I had doing practice rounds, it was able to get its Surf off before the Marshtomp. Just about every single time. So that's another reason why I went with it. It performed well. used it probably the most, as well as the Skarmory in every single round. And then you have the Medicham, which is so good because it maxes out at level 40 and it's under 1500 CP, so it's at its peak potential above and beyond anything else that's going to be entering. Because I mean, if we take a look here, nothing in this category is going to be maxing out at 1500 CP. They're going to go way beyond that. Medicham is at literally its peak potential. So I did go with Psycho Cut, Ice Punch, and Dynamic Punch. I was really contemplating using Counter because it's very strong. See, and what I did today was I recorded going up against one of the team leaders in the training. So I put Psycho Cut and then I did Counter. I recorded it, put it side by side to see which one was going to charge quicker, but not just quicker, but how much faster it would be. And it was Psycho Cut. So obviously we know Psycho Cut is going to be gaining more energy for your charge moves. I already knew that, but I just had to have a visual as to how much faster. And let me tell you right now, you're definitely going to want to go with Psycho Cut if you're trying to charge your charge moves. It is so much quicker. Alright, and now you're going to see where all this Stardust is going behind your guys' backs without me recording and showing you. Because, I don't want to show you everything, but hey, you're about to see a lot of stuff right now. So I was considering this, but it has way too many hazards. Being a ground and flying type, ice is going to completely demolish it. You have to look out for water as well. So you have the Wishcash, Marshtomp, Swampert, and Medicham with Ice Punch, and Hitmonchan with Ice Punch. It's just too dangerous for this thing in the tournament. But that's okay because I do have it powered up for any other situation in the future. Fury Cutter, Earthquake, and Aerial Ace. So yeah, that's where the Stardust is going. And not just this. I'm going to show you another one that I just... Oh my gosh. Let's go ahead and take a look. Nidoking. That's not what I'm going to keep the name at. That's a dumb name. Alright, so we have Iron Tail, Earthquake, and then Megahorn. So the only problem with this guy here is I don't have the Legacy Fury Cutter, which is going to be charging up the Earthquake and Megahorn super fast. As far as Iron Tail, it's not that great. You're going to be going up against ground Pokemon and other steel types, not very effective. So not looking good. The reason why I was contemplating it is because it is part poison type, reduced damage from fighting type Pokemon. But at the end of the day, those charge moves aren't just getting up quick enough for you to do anything. You're going to be left vulnerable and probably have the opponent get off 2 charge moves, or maybe even 3 by the time you're able to get off Earthquake. And by then, you would have to use your shields and it's just game over. So Nidoking was a definite no-go. I wasn't contemplating this, but if you are, don't use it, okay? That's just my suggestion for this Boulder Cup tournament in specific. I know it fits the bill so perfectly. Boulder Cup, Rhyperior looks awesome, but it's just too weak to everything. It's funny because it's the Boulder Cup, but nobody was using Rock because... Yep. So this one does have Smackdown, Snow Edge, and Surf. So there you go for that. Now, Mawile is a very good Pokemon for the Great League, but for the Boulder Cup, not so much. And the reason why is because it takes forever to get off the Play Rough and Iron Head. But on the flip side, if you're using Bite, it just completely goes through everything. You'll be able to get down to half health on some Pokemon before they're able to even get off a charge move. But you're going to be left having to use your shield if you want to really get off a charge. And that's pretty much it. This is another kind of expensive one to buy a secondary move. Powered it up to reach the limit here. So yeah, another Pokemon that I use in Great League, but not for this tournament, all right? And then you have that Marshtomp, of course. And now let's look at the Hariyama. I did power this up today. It was like a 1000 CP. And I was like thinking, this thing's never going to find usability until, well, today. Didn't actually use it, but I powered it up and got it ready for the future. I did buy a secondary move for 50,000 impulsively. I just bought it, and then I went back and looked at my other Hariyamas to see how much it cost because I wasn't even thinking. And this is what I did at the last tournament. I just purchased a bunch of moves on secondary moves on Pokemon that I didn't even use, getting too excited and just blowing Stardust like a fool. So I mean, it's good in whatever situation in the future. If they pull out some sort of psychic Pokemon, hit it up with Heavy Slam, I'll be looking good to go because that does work in some situations. Flygon is another good option. It's just going to be extremely weak to those ice moves, which are going to be there on the Medicham and Hitmonchan, and possibly your Wishcash with Blizzard. On the flip side, Mudshot's going to be charging up your Dragon Claw if you do have that. Another Pokemon I wanted to use but wasn't really considering too much is Toxicroak. It's doing the most damage out of all of these Pokemon that are going to be entering in the Boulder Cup. It's crazy. Counter Dynamic Punch on this thing is outrageous. You'll be taking reduced damage from the fighting type moves, but if they do pull out their Medicham, you're going to be going down quick if they do have Psycho Cut. It is doing not that much damage to the Psycho Cut, but against this thing you are poison and fighting, so both of those are going to be weak. But I mean, it could be a good option, but I don't highly recommend it for this cup. It's a great Pokemon nonetheless. Now, another one here we have is going to be Donphan. Now, I took this off my team and I really was wanting to use it. It's just, once again, too many water and ice Pokemon, well, at least moves, and there's just not enough usability here. We have Play Rough and Earthquake. Counter is okay, but if you get stuck up against a Skarmory or a Medicham, you're not going to be looking too hot. That Medicham is going to hit you with Ice Punch, and it's game over. But Donphan is nothing to poke your nose up at because it can hold its own in certain situations, just not so much in this Boulder Cup. As you remember, I've been talking about this thing for months, way before PvP was out, and I said, you guys, you're going to want to focus on things like this because when they do release some sort of player versus player and there is going to be lower leagues, which I went into great detail about, and what do you know, they bring out different leagues just like we were discussing. So I was happy with this one, definitely excited to use it, and it was actually able to shine, not just with me, but with people all around the world for this tournament. Medicham is an awesome Pokemon, always liked it, and that's why I called it Future, because it was going to find its usability in the future, and now it is here. So with that said, trainers, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave it a like, and I will be catching you all next time. Take care.